Hello, Class +1 students. Today, I, Harpreet Kaur from English Frog Club is here to teach you another chapter from the book Hornbill prescribed for Class 11. The heading of the chapter is We Are Not Afraid to Die If We Can All Be Together. So, are you ready to learn with me? So why to wait? Let's proceed. The heading of this chapter seems quite interesting. So let's explore the heading once. The heading says, we are not afraid to die if we can all be together. So I think this heading is giving us an imagery that the people whom we are going to read about in this chapter are engrossed, are struck in some kind of problem, and they have become hopeless. They are not hoping for their survival. So here they are discussing about their chances of survival. So they say that they are not afraid to die if they all can be together. So this chapter is written by Gordon Cook and Alan East. So let's proceed further and read what this chapter has for us. What surprises, what adventure, what we are going to read in this chapter. So are you ready to read with me? Yes, let's proceed further. Now here we are on the first paragraph of the chapter. In July 1976, my wife Mary, son Jonathan 6, daughter Suzanne 7, and I set sail from Plymouth, England, to duplicate round-the-world voyage made 200 years earlier by Captain Cook. For the longest time, Mary and I, a 37-year-old businessman, had dreamt of sailing in the wake of famous explorer, and for the past 16 years, we had spent all our leisure time honing our seafaring skills in British waters. So let's see what this paragraph is about to tell us. This paragraph is telling us about many of the things. So first of all, the year is mentioned here in July 1976. What happened in July 1976? They set sail. The writer along with his family set sail. Now how many members are there in his family? It is the writer and his daughter Suzanne, who is 7 years old, and his son Jonathan, who is 6 years old, and his wife. So the four-membered family of the writer and the author started their journey through the sea, from Plymouth, England. So what was the purpose of their journey? Why they wanted to take up the journey? The reason the writer has mentioned is to duplicate round the world voyage made 200 years earlier by Captain James Cook. So what the writer wants to do here, writer wants to go after this Captain James Cook, who had taken a voyage round the world, who had gone throughout the world on a ship which was 200 years earlier. He took up this journey by sea, and the writer wanted to duplicate this, like he also want to go throughout the world and by the sea. So here in this paragraph, he is also telling us what preparation he has done before actually setting sail for the journey. So he said that the writer is 37 years old businessman who have been dreaming for exploring a new world, okay, and for what they have spent 16 years for what? For honing their seafaring skills in British waters. So whenever they had some leisure time, free time. See, everyone is working, everyone is busy, though there are certain time, holidays, weekends, etc. When they had time, they managed to learn, they spent that time in learning some kind of skill that was necessary for going into the water, for surfing, for traveling through the water in the ship. Let's see how the chapter advances, and let's see further. Our boat, Wave Walker, 23-meter and 30-ton wooden hull beauty, had been professionally built, and we had spent months finding it out and testing it in the roughest water we could find. So here the dimensions or the description of the ship is given, that it is 20 meter long, 30 ton, its weight is 30 ton, and it is made of wood, okay, and there is more wood in it, and it is not built by a novice person, some professional person. It is built professionally, and they have tested it for many months before actually starting the journey. The first leg of our planned 3-year, okay, what was the planning of the first leg was 3-year journey. And what is the distance? 105 kilometers journey passed pleasantly as we sailed down the west coast of Africa to Cape Town. So what was their first journey? Their first journey was from Africa to Cape Town, okay, and their first that was completed in 3 years. Now he was about to start his second leg of the journey, and where he wanted to go. Let us see further what he is about to tell us about his story. There, before heading east, we took 2 crewmen, okay, so he hired 2 crewmen, American Larry and Swiss Herb Seeger, to help them tackle one of the world's roughest sea. What is the Southern Indian Ocean? Now they were about to go into Southern Indian Ocean. So before going that, the writer wanted to, he was concerned about the safety of her family, as this sea is considered to be the world's roughest sea. So he hired certain professionals, that is Larry Vigil and Herb Seeger, before actually going to the journey. So that's it, and let's see what this chapter have the adventure for us in it. Our second day out of Cape Town, we began to encounter strong gales. So he said that on the second day of the journey, we started experiencing strong gales. So they were experiencing very strong wind, okay, and for the next few weeks they blew continuously. Gales did not worry me, but the size of the waves are alarming. He said it was okay that the winds were, I was not worried about the strength of the wind, but I was worried about the size of the waves, okay. It was 15 meters, up to 15 meters high from our mast. So this is the ship and it's their mast, and the waves were higher than the mast, even it was higher than the mast. So that is why the author was quite worried. These kind of waves may land them into a trouble. December 25 found us 3,500 kilometers east of the Cape Town. So they covered nearly 3,500 kilometers towards the east direction from the Cape Town. Despite atrocious weather, we had a wonderful holiday, complete with a Christmas tree. New Year Day saw no improvement in the weather, but we reasoned that it had to change soon, and it did change for the worse. So what the writer says that although since we have started the journey, on the very second day the weather deteriorated, the weather got down, and strong winds were blowing, and they were quite afraid also, they were quite scared also what will happen to them, but they were able to celebrate the Christmas and the New Year on the ship, and they were hopeful also that it will be over and they will be learning and they were hopeful that it will be over and they will be safer and reaching their destination. But what happened? He said that the weather changed, but it did not change for the good, it changed for the worst. Okay, something happened so strange, so terrible, that the author is about to tell us in the following paragraph. Let's see the following paragraph. Here we are going to see what the writer is going to encounter after the new year had over. Now it's the next year. So what the next year has in surprise for him. Let's see. At dawn on January 2, the waves were gigantic. They were sailing with only one storm jib and were still making 8 knots. Okay, although they had used or reduced the things that will add the speed, and they were just moving on the storm jib only, and that was also, even then the speed was quite high. They were moving at 8 knots. As the ship rose to the top of each wave, we could see endless, enormous sea rolling towards us. So when the ship was moving further, they could see gigantic waves and they were approaching them. Oh, how scared they would have been at the time. So let's see. To slow the boat down, we dropped the storm jib and lashed. So the writer says that there was a lot of screaming sound of the wind, and the water that was splashed over the ship was also quite painful, that they have to close their ears, and it was really disturbing. It was really terrifying. And of course, in this situation, the captain of the ship had to do something to control over the situation. So what the writer do to control over the situation? Let's see. To slow the boat down, we dropped the storm jib. This is the first thing they did, and lashed a heavy mooring rope in a loop across the stern. So this is the second thing they did. Then we double lash everything. Okay, so they did this third thing, that they double lash everything, and they also went through our life raft drill. So this is what they did for, okay, and how, if in case the storm is there, how they will be leaving the ship and going safely in the rafts. Okay, that also they practiced. Drill here means practice. Further we see, let's see what is there. Whether they were storm or not, let's see. The first indication of impending disaster came at about 6 p.m. with an ominous silence. The wind dropped and the sky immediately grew dark. Then came a growing roar and an enormous cloud tearing the aft of the ship. With horror, I realized that it was no cloud, but the wave like no other I had ever seen. It appeared perfectly vertical. The wave was not like this. The wave was vertical. Okay, it appeared perfectly vertical and almost twice the height of the other waves in the sea, and almost twice the height of other waves. See, the other waves are this, and the height of this vertical wave is nearly twice in the height. With a frightful breaking crest, and the crest of the wave was frightful. So the author became really terrified that what will happen now? Are we going to have a storm? What will happen to my ship? And what will happen to my family? He was really scared. The roar increased to a thunder. What is roar? Roar is the noise, the voice that is made by the waves along with the wind. Okay, it increased to thunder. The stern moved to the face of the stern moved up the face of the wave, and for a moment I thought we might ride over it, but then tremendous explosion shook the deck. A torrent of green and white broke the ship, and my head smashed into the wheel, and I was aware of flying overboard and sinking below the waves. I accepted my approaching death, and I was losing consciousness. I felt quite peaceful. Okay, so the author the ship had encountered the storm that day, and the storm was so strong that it hit the author, and the author became senseless. He became a little unconscious, and he thought that his death was quite near. When he became unconscious, he felt quite peace. He felt quite peaceful at that time. Unexpectedly, my head popped out of the water. Okay, he said, I did not expect that I will be able to come out of the water, but unexpectedly it came out of the sea. This is the water, and his head came out of the water, and he was able to breathe. Okay, so that gave him life once again. Wave Walker was near capsizing. It means it was about to be overpowered by the storm. Her mast almost horizontal. Okay, the mast is like this vertical earlier, but now it had become horizontal. So the mast was horizontal. The wave hurled her upright, and the ship was like this. The mast was down. Look at the ship. This is the ship earlier, the mast and the ship. Now it had become like this, mast horizontal, and the ship had become upright. I grabbed the guardrail and sailed through the air into the Wave Walker's main boom. Subsequent waves tossed me around the deck like a rag doll. My left rib cracked, my mouth filled with blood and broken teeth. Somehow I found the wheel, lined up stern and for the next wave, and hung on. He said that I got really injured, that the author got really injured here. He had blood in from his mouth, and his teeth were broken, but somehow he was able to manage to hold the wheel, and he was trying to take hold of the ship. Water everywhere. I could feel the ship had water below. Water everywhere. I could feel that the ship had water below, but I dare not abandon the ship, the wheel, to investigate. He said, I could have a feeling that there was water under the ship also, under the deck also, but he could not dare to leave the wheel and go and inquire whether everything is okay, his wife and children were all right or not. The front hatch was thrown open. Okay, so this is the ship and deck is there, and there is a hatch here. It was thrown open. Somebody came out of that hatch. Mary appeared. We are sinking, she screamed. The decks are smashed. We are full of water. Take the wheel, I shouted as I scrambled for the hatch. So he said, okay, you control here and I'll go down and check what I can do. When he went down, what was the scene in the ship? Let's see. Larry and her were pumping like madmen Broken timbers hung at crazy angles. The whole starboard side bulged inward. See, this is the ship and it is bulging inward, and there is a kind of hole here through which the water was entering in the ship, and the ship was getting filled with water. And in the water he could see the timber. I mean, the ship was made of wood, and as in the storm there were broken pieces of wood. Those are called timber, and due to the storm the things were hanging at crazy angles. So there he said that each and everything, in a sense, this is a way the writer wants to tell us that each and everything on the deck was in a pretty bad condition. Okay. Larry and Herb were pumping like madmen. Broken timbers hung at crazy angles. The whole starboard bulged inward. Crockery, clothes, charts, things, and toys sloshed about in deep water. So till here we will be doing the chapter, and the rest of the chapter we will be proceeding in the next part. Do subscribe my channel and wait for the next part. Don't forget to leave a comment and your requirements for the video lessons that you would like me to prepare for you. Do like and comment, do share my videos, and till then, wait for the next video. I know that you all are quite excited to study with me. So bye from Mrs. Harpreet Kaur. See you in the next video and the second part of We Are Not afraid to die if we can be all together. So bye students. Okay, see you in the next video.